Kundu Lana Mandala Kwaniyada Sanje Chetan Soje Chanon La Chanju Padu Dani Jesa Dagi Jin Chinju Sonan Ye
Dola Panche Sanje Jupa
Jo Sanje Chetan Soje
Chanon La Chanju Padu Dani Jesa
Dagi Chinju Sonan Ye
Dola Panche Sanje Jupa
Jo Sanje Chetan Soje
Chanon La Chanju Padu Dani Jesa Shinin Jive Sonam Ye Dola Fenje Sanje Jovara Sho
Sanje Sumbara Dishi Tenjin Cheba de la Chodo Tejan Go in D. La Benajas and Ambitani Levatola to Sunyanji. Namalaya Ganaludan Nijagan to Madame Ganan the Doakunjikan, Jesa Watana. Nagiche den dos, oh, yeah, Sada. Ani Jumden de Casore, Yantubu Toy Casso. Sanam Nazo Kunshite, the Shinimbo Pirata, Nimbo Tela Kunshite, Tishanam, Dumba Chess. Nimbo Kunshitavana, Losanam, Misiso, Jenny, Suana Jenny. Takarasungore, Sanam Nazo Kunshite said, Kunshi said, oh, come the worship Nimbo, that's some Jirashi, Sawa, Tangarata Kondo Sherki, Kasankani Sherki, Semjirashi, Yesaba, and Semirashi Meba, Semkitin Chini de Lasiguare, Sanam Nazo Kunshite.
Chavi Karina Suma.
Yandu Bokubeto.
Yen?
Yandu Bokubeto.
Do you know the name of Gen? What's that? Janaloa Sutra, within that it says that all the varieties of the grounds are like the basis of all. Sananazo Kunshite. Like the term that all the varieties of the grounds is the basis of all refers to the nature of the mind, that luminous nature of the mind, the Dhammadhatu of the mind.
Tishinimbo tela Kunshite, Tishishana Tambate, Segana, Kunshite, Dongua de Carre, Segana, Tangaranzo. Castle, call and Dobby Rimbatang, call Kiwi Rimbani Binane. Tenderly, come the receiving but the Chishin to Madonna. Ani T. Lojo, Denzin Marie Becky, Quinella de Lessa. Lady Paja, Namshi to Gertie. Ani Silenji said, Tamne, Ani called Bass into Chupati, the young guardi. Right, she got it.
Come the worship Nimbo de Karimachana Suma. Come the worship
Jishin Madonna.
Jishin Madonna. Okay. So why mention this Kunshi? Why mention this? This is with regards to explanation of samsaric existence, with regards to how to reverse samsaric existence, and with regards to the forward or the progression of how samsaric existence arises or generated. Then, for this, then one needs to understand exactly what the Tathagata essence, the Tathagata Garbha is exactly about. And with regards to that, then, understanding that due to the ignorance grasping at true existence, then due to that, the initial karma is formed, and then due to that as the motivating factor, then all all the karma is accumulated, and then they give lesa. Come the wish when you bought the Jishim Matona, and then what's the
only the Lord Demba Rashi to a Tibet, Denzin Tegi, and you couldn't allow the Chatamos to J. And the Chatamos to Tiwang Lesa.
So, by not realizing exactly what the Tathagata Garbha is, then the opposite of this, which is the grasping at true existence, not realizing how phenomena does not exist by way of its own nature, and its opposite, which is the denzin, the grasping at true existence, is what generates the attachment, the aversion, and the ignorance, being the motivating factors for accumulating the karma.
Samudongba Matona, and the castle, never soon had you papa you go donkey do you castle. Dongba Shiva Jiva maybe to Mishapen and draw Chamjura. Teta Tujing I will tell you the Ribajadakin in Zubaze, Sene, Sunju Teta Jibachikan Chane. Come the way she knew what she seen the Madonna, Mashena, and Tata Shivanashi, Mishapan and draw Chamjuba Sevanashi, Chene. Annie. Ti lojo chiji lodo do de ta ta ji shuan na xin chen ri kwa la ri ma xin tu jie de ani thoma nin zam jia wa na jia wa da then ani ga wa da na wa da ga wa da chi wi ju ma la so wa ka ta ri ma xin tu nyong ko ge wa yin zang wa
ken papa yu ko sum be dona khari jar tongba
So,
in this, without the realization of the profound emptiness, then one as transmigratory beings then continuously roams, wanders through samsaric existence, and so that this point is also stated within. Papa Yuko Sumbedo. Which one is that?
Papa Yuko Dongushido.
Anyway, in that particular sutra, it says that without the realization of emptiness, peace, and production, when one does not realize this, then the lack of the knowledge of this is what causes the endless wandering in samsaric existence. So, in the same context, then, without the knowledge of the Tathagata essence or the Tathagata Garbha, without knowing this, then that is what causes our samsaric existence, our birth in samsara. And once born in the samsaric existence, then we go through aging, death, and so forth.
Oh yeah, and come the Shi Nimbo She Mashiki, Wangi, Mashena, Kwana Juti Dunga Patomeba, Nyongo Yinzang, that Dunga and Toby tap the Kawares, and I come the Nimbo, the Washi Nimbo, Dona, and this Koyizawa dancing Mariba, and the Kasana, Doba Juba Yinzang. That the receiving in Botoba Talabergo in Zang. The Yinzang tender is some Tomba Yedi, Ani Lomembanam the Chita Washington Tom in Yuba Yinzang, Yumbotella, Kushite, Tishishan and Dumbates, Kushi said the condemn you can't do Juki, Shidi, come the receiving in Botoma Dollar Raleva in Zang, Kushi, Sanan to the shit, Yumbotella, Kushi, Tishishan and Dumbates. Nyombo kushi draba ni washan namji mishiso.
Ke mangta to. News maswanga jusumento. So without the so depending on whether one has the knowledge of realization of the Tathagata Garbha or not, then that is the factor on the basis of which whether one has the opportunity to reverse cycle existence or be in samsara going through the endless sufferings of samsaric existence. So, reversing samsaric existence is dependent upon our realization or knowledge of the Tathagata Garbha. So therefore, it says then to apply every effort in generating the realization of this Tathagata Garbha, the profound emptiness. And so, in that quotation referring to that which is the basis of all, then that which is the basis of all is the basis. That basis referring to that it is the basis of samsara and basis of and the basis for going beyond samsaric existence. In that respect, then the Tathagata Garbha is the basis for that, either samsara or transcending samsaric existence. 감대외시베 니보데 코데기
콘데 여시비 인보시에 미시기 왕기 아니 콘데 시시마 와 미시바기 코르지지 그 주체 인보시에 아니 코알렌 대와기 주체마
군식을 잡는
군시시민 다 들이세
so
인보시라
so the Tathagata Garbha is labeled the basis of all because it is the Tathagata Garbha is the basis for either samsara or transcending samsara. The knowledge or the lack of knowledge of Tathagata Garbha. So there is the basis of all, which is also mentioned in the context of the 8 types of consciousness. But this basis of all does not refer to the consciousness. The Chittamatrans then designate a consciousness besides the 6 consciousness. They designate a consciousness which is the basis of all, which is the basis for their labeling of a person.
아니 심지랑신 심랑신지 주연 넘버 타바 심랑신지 주연 넘버 타바 인장 심랑신지 마주바 심과라 라운드 마주바 심라운드 춤나 아니 심라 주jengu 주스메 바인바리
So so the Tathagata essence, the Tathagata is stainless. Is stainless with regards to stainless in the context of being empty in nature, not existing independently. If it existed independently from its own side, then one would not be able to effect any kind of changes through causes and conditions. Because the mind is not existent by way of its own nature or independently existent, so one can apply changes through causes and conditions. Since the continuum of the mind, with its disturbed, unsubdued afflictions, since these afflictions do not exist in the nature of the mind, then we say that the nature of the mind is luminous, clean luminous, and therefore, all of the defilements are removable.
아니 심지 찬디 가나 내라 아니 가서래 치마 라바지 좀 마자야 치마 라바지 끊어라비 아니 용하게 내 자야 대내 치마 라바지 자야 대내 치마 참모 자야.
So, in order to separate the defilements from the continuum of our mind, from the continuum of the mind, then since this needs to be done, so one begins by first purifying the gross defilements of the body and speech, and then working on the subtle defilements.
안지섬지 트마 잔디가나 아니 누구 캔지 아니 누구 장와기 배선이 순하리.
So in the sutra Supiwompa the king Sukiwompa the king of the form sutra, Dharani, the king of the Dharani Sutra, within that it says that the way in which one purifies the defilements of the mind is similar to how a jeweler purifies the impurities of that particular jewel.
이다 다들 가르쳐서는 치마 취재기 아니 제 라와당 다 가서 잠주장 주보당 밤마당 잠복이 아니 처마주 정확히 배송하려 당을 심어가 제가 오순바 인자 처마 라바 장발라 전에 장반나시 제가라 간 다들 얘기 당 탄당한도 가산 샤와나시 전에 얘기 가소래 네 가서 샘종제 되라 나샤 남바 주 셰디가나 누군기 님이 셰디가나 누군기 누den기 님이당 누den다 군종기 님이 잖아 과랑그 파연 셰발라 때네 아니 담보 샘지 멤버셰 누부케제 토마 아니 누부 장디 토마 그냥 가서 아니 누 장자의 그 탑태기 아니 누부 잡을 바 다야가 나시 때 담보 그 멤버셰.
So you know, like purifying the jewel, there are like 3 stages. You know, where at the first stage you sort of purify the gross, and then you kind of rub it with a like a coarse material, then with a very kind of very soft material, kind of to rub or shine it. And just as how there are these 3 stages in sort of bringing forth the shine in that particular jewel, in the same way, then you have the 10 presentations on the 10 presentations by which one purifies the defilements of the mind. So, first and foremost, when one is given the explanations of the shortcomings of true suffering, true origin, and given the explanations of the benefit of the attainment of the path of cessation, or cessation, benefit of cessation and its path. When those types of benefits are explained, then these are the first stages that bring forth a ripening of the mind. And this is likened to the jeweler's first phase of purifying that particular ore.
오이다 다 된대 제가 토마 김면바 전에 다 담보네 디바침불라나 중간되지 예소나 아니 니와기 가소리 누구 주어 대당 최충받더라 아니 된다 김면비 가사 되라 매와 같이 여기 디바집이 쳐라 매비 매와당 아니 돈이 도비 셔럽 마 땡디 강라 아니 니와기 콜라 좋아치와기 탑 사모 동반이 된 거래 와
So initially ripening the mind in this kind of way, and then for those of the Mahayana lineage, then the second part is then just like the jeweler's second phase of washing that, or washing that jewel, like the second phase of the purifying of that particular jewel. In the same way, then you have the devotion towards the Mahayana Dharma, and then being given the teachings on the method for in realizing emptiness, and in this way you have the intermediate stage of enabling the liberation out of samsaric existence through realizing emptiness. So you have the first ripening of the mind through understanding the shortcomings of the true suffering, true origin. And since one does not wish for suffering, then one has to bring forth this. One has to reverse the causes of suffering, their true origin, and in order to bring a stop to the true origin, then one has to get rid of the ignorance grasping at true existence, and realize that the objects, the apprehended objects or the determined objects of this mind of ignorance grasping at true existence, to realize that these objects do not exist at all, then one needs to generate the realization of emptiness.
Oh yeah, that is so. Ani kasore, toni to bala tene, dinzi boni su cheme chudi. Ani taba tenye ji lo jedi kana. Ani taba tenye ji lo jedi kita lo jema mayin ba jebi kana. Ani kasore, rang dewa deba tang. 先读对吧对吧的读俺没对吧那些什么先读俺对吧他对吧没对吧一般一般俺那让你几步俺那读俺把别他把团队年话的没把团呢俺那什么先去团队什么先他把明年的规避七度俺那让你让他们不让他把作为三届就恐怕团队给落结果吧印章人把孙把提给俺那提前他们都只会吃饭一把的
After one, so after establishing that one can generate the realization of emptiness, then having established that, then cultivating the intention for actualizing liberation, and when one generates this kind of wish, then this kind of wish for attaining liberation has to be uncontrived or like effortless form, and then on the basis of such realization, then also thinking that just as how oneself wants happiness and does not want suffering in that respect, then others are also same in not wanting suffering and in wanting happiness, and therefore seeing how unsuitable it is to seek out one's own liberation alone. And so on the basis of such thinking, then cultivating the wish to bring every sentient being into that state of the non-abiding nirvana, and in order to fulfill that, then generating the wish to attain the unsurpassable, perfect and complete state of enlightenment. So that is the third stage. On enabling of the sentient beings to attain the extensive path.
Oh yeah. Rimba sumba te la jachewe lamji rim ane chanchu ke sem jesu maa tendi ke chanchu sem je ke tate maa tendi kana 아니 자주 좀 점점만 많이 받게와나 아니 대바치 뭐 추바체.
So that this third stage is generating what is known as the extensive path, basically showing the method for generating bodhicitta. And when one has this uncontrived form of bodhicitta, the effortless bodhicitta, then one has entered into the minor path.
다들이 나를 사모동반이 땡라 패바태당 아니 자주 의심 손대대 냠소 라네 아니 사모동반이라 maybe 아니 가서래 시내등 안에 동반 시내 미바다 제주도 내가 그 시내 톱 시내경 안에 아니 상동 줍대 상동 줍대 아니 시라 손대 톱대 가나 다들라 자주 의심 기회를 받더라 아니 퇴섬 쪽으로 주위 내가 되라 아니 처럼 진지스 못해 연거래 저 잘못 동반이 양라 베비 퇴섬 쪽으로 주위 내가 되라 처럼 춘 샘게반에 손데 처럼 춘지스 못해 디제소 동반이라 메비 시라 손데 토바나 저람 제거래
with the previous realization of emptiness, and then with the bodhicitta combined, then first and foremost you generate the calm abiding or the tranquil abiding on the basis of emptiness, the single-pointed concentration of the calm abiding on the basis of emptiness. And from within that sphere of the emptiness, then you generate focus on the basis of such single-pointed focus of calm abiding in emptiness, then you generate the special insight. And this allows for the unified practice of the calm abiding and special insight, that which is brought forth by the practice of previous cultivation of the profound emptiness, and then the latter cultivation of the bodhicitta. So you can say that on the basis of listening, hearing the teachings, reflecting on it, then you accomplish the first three stages of it on the path of accumulation, the path, the small, middling, and great path of accumulation. And then when one progresses to the level of having the calm abiding and special insight, unified practice of calm abiding special insight on the basis of emptiness, then you progress to the path of preparation.
Oh yeah, that tenia chani kasa shuwa na she chani ane jolam toba na toni tobe shila sonde topdita. They in a dinner ambo number kasa shuwa na she tene ambo number yena ane sola demba she be tension unju tabe tabate top. So in conjunction with attaining the path attaining the path of preparation, then one attains the concentration of the unified practice of calm abiding and special insight, and as stated previously, then at that level, then bodhisattvas of the highest intellect are able to abandon manifest forms of grasping at true existence of form and so forth. 정말로보고 운주와다 제와데 아니 돈용 도비 실라 송제기 도지 전원 안보는 못되기 도지 아니 정화 쳐봐 이제 다 받치고 와 말이야. 그봐.
탁바송. So
운주와.
So with regards to the the Tathagata essence, with regards to the Tathagata, in the case of these bodhisattvas of the highest capacity, when they are able to get rid of the manifest form of grasping at true existence by generating the unified practice of the calm, abiding, and special insights concentration on emptiness. So in that context, you have that state of purification, or the partial purification.
전남 최소 10월 레레라양 다 민대 쳐봐 요아래 두저야 마 신도 되디 아니 가서래 동반 영무숨 타다 또요 말에데 요 동반이다 요새 이신이오데 니랑 라바 여바데 라바 여바데 체중도 친디 가라 탈쳐라 천조가 내가서 아니 니랑 봐 유다 요새 이오데 서바당 천조가 내가서 니랑 누바다는 거 말에데 니랑 만남나야 나라 니랑 누바다는 거 말에 유다 요새니 보데
Nina nuba menaya
nubda nuyo marete nuba
So as one progresses along the path of preparation, which has 4 stages, in the path of preparation, you do not have the direct realization of emptiness, but in those parts, especially along the levels of forbearance and supreme dharma, because of the progression on the path, then there is a diminishing. As one progresses on the path, there is a gradual diminishing of the gross duality of subject and object. There's as one progresses along those 4 stages of the path of preparation, there is gradual diminishing, more and more diminishing of that gross sense of duality of subject and object. So much so that when one attains the phases of states of forbearance and supreme dharma, even though there is no even though one. For the meditator, even though duality has not been abandoned, it feels as if it has been abandoned because it has been so diminished.
대신도 안에 동반이라 사나양 안에 배 사나 가서래 치료 줘야.
Likewise,
사나한테 돼지던 데요권에 사와래 무슨 사나 말에 돼지던 데요 사나한테라양 안에 사나 치료 줘야 동반이 사나.
Likewise, then even the clear appearance of that emptiness becomes greater and greater and greater. Of course, that clear appearance of emptiness is mixed with the generic emptiness. It's not because because on this path one has yet to directly realize emptiness. So although there is a greater and greater clarity of that emptiness, but that clarity of that emptiness is also, conjoined with the generic emptiness.
올해 다 드니야 전에 다 가상 쉬쉬와 전에 아니 가소래 감존지 그 처마 대다기 아니 감대 장발라 때네 감존지 처마 대다 아니 다다 샤바 용사기 마다바다 타바다 타비시 가산 주비 샤바 용사 그더니 때 담보 토마토도 가라 아니 군다 존지기 님보도 타바래 아니 뒤까지 녀와는 남로라 타바나 아니 통남 군다 기타베 타바데 토가래
so you have purifying the defilements, the stains of the basic element, and and the antidotes that which purifies those defilements, like how it in this context you have the unpurified, the slightly purified, completely purified like that. As explained yesterday on the path of seeing, when one first attains the path of seeing, then you first purify the imputed, grasping at true existence by first by generating the uninterrupted path at the first moment, and then when the liberated path is generated on at the second phase, then at the second moment, then that imputed grasping at true existence is purified.
Oh yeah. That in the end, that come John Jack, Chama John Jack de la Casa, the more do they let Juba Tang said, Kong the Ma Ching Tani, and in Jubi Ravi Tini, Tella, that what Tella, this Tower Terra Dua, Jubi Ravi Tella, then this to a dinner like Castle. You are a G. Some Javadang. 说是团下巴当、唐伯当，是他做修的，你这是不就？你这你是执行的了，是的，修过你这你是执行的了。
So, with regards to the explanation of those that which purifies the basic element, for that, then the commentary is in page 124.
哦，你这你是执行的啊？
你这224。200。
但你谈到一个，我对这来，我有这部担保来，俺的主把是吧？我对这来的，我有这部来担保，主把是出是吧？但主把这个那了，但是的我们西部的了。 아니 내가 피신 군도 조위 주 다도 민주 연대 연면이 전달 민주 공대 인시 차세 가데 내가 그 예와당 아니 가서 군도 조와당 전도 민주와당 시도 남바 타바 세야데 최사데 아니 주비 라베트라 마트고 있어래.
So covering those presentations of the essence or the nature, the cause, the result, the function, the endowment, and at this point is the manifestation. So, with regards to the presentation of the manifestation, you have the general explanation and the individual explanations with regards to it, and then you have. 주베라에 데라 데 주베라에 숨부터 갈수마
알았어.
한다 직숨소서
근데 누가 오라 이렇게 나셔나반 주인나 타마시두가 그러와 내가 군도 줘봐 다도 민주와 옛날 예매 봐 시두가
in explaining what manifestation is about, then you have, the states of that manifestation, nakeup, the unchangingness, the indivisibility, nakeup.
Nakeup ji yewa, kundu tuwi yewa, dadu minjuwa. Kundu. Ani yende yeme ba.
Omnipresent. The nakeup means the phases or the states, then being omnipresent, unchanging, and indivisible.
That's one. Oh yeah. That day country segure sana de jubira vetela sugudi denala that the no menso sangdo jubira vetela 我以前的原来在唐伯了什么在这个呢？如果你这你去扎送给你我吃完你这点钱呢，原来你是多少？哇，你说你我吃完你这你去扎送的啦，你我吃完你这点钱呢，原来你是多少？当然了，你我吃完的，你我吃了，你去干了，鸡蛋原来个囤你钱。 集团的早晚这晚的嘛用下的钱，对吧？早晚这晚的嘛都是用下的钱。但原来个团的了，俺你记参加说早晚你也别拿呢，俺你哦，真的的，那像那帮就给他们修做相关的上。
So, just as the Tibetan commentary is on page 223, in which you have the general explanation with regard of the root verses, the commentary root verses, and then the explanation of the branches or the divisions that relates to the explanation of the last 4 points of the 10 presentations.
以前你是这样的，没对吧？他现在你在听吧？以前你是咋说的了，是吧？因为了，除了你第几点钱呢？原来你说了，但对了，集团的原来团以前，集团的了早晚的这晚都是马青。
So the general explanation is with regards to the root verses and the commentary.
但原来个团的了。俺那参加的卡说的，既参加所属团下吧，你预备哪呢？既参加的他参加去，所属团下吧的了，我有关的太太吧买帮人吧，那个太太别差不多也哇。
And then, in explaining each of the branches, then explaining that, in nature they are not different, but that they are different. From in the context of its phases or states.
我今天让先建议那个工作做啊，准备工作做也听你做吧，太困难做吧。那现在别吸毒啊。
Being one in same in nature, but being omnipresent, being present throughout.
是吧？我有关的钱都没就要做吧。
And then that in its nature that it is unchanging.
真的，现在哪怕他被推呢，那么多经验的呢也没做吧。现在哪怕他被推呢，这对的按你卡说的，那么多什么话，你这旁边那么多什么的了，我的也没做吧，我大体什么的，大都没经验的也没理解的，大体主要的都行吧，剩下什么的，那么那么注意。
And then at the phase of being completely purified, then it is explaining the result of the complete liberation.
现在他就当我下把带生下的，他就叫他们听说，这边三边军赛这样马大吧，我就说他把越讲，这边三边军赛讲马大吧去。
So
说是9天，我马大吧当，只把他大马大就跟到去三边接着把他把同他们那么多蓝把我去，是吧
？So when as explained earlier, then when one is on the path of preparation, then you would have to say that one has abandoned only in the gross manifest forms of the defilements, but one is at the phase of not having 조랑기 내가 성공이 와 타마시
타바 예장 사변 지르자 마타바 인장 사변 타와나 마타바 인장
one has not purified any of the seeds of those defilements. 통랑 내가서
통남 남도남 그때도 주바 타다 마다지 군다 그 사변 지르바 타바.
And then when one has attained the path of seeings, liberated path, even though one has not completely purified all of the defilements, that one has at this stage gotten rid of some of the seeds of the imputed ignorance, grasping at true existence.
因此他在那看了家对单了，他在这看啥的话，看了家对讲吧。这边三边就是讲马大巴所给予产生所给予预计审定给审计去年的，我的这边就是咱们马大巴给多少些被赢不？
So Previously, then we're talking about the different individuals, who has not had the slightest purification or who has some partial form of purification. So when you apply it in the context of the basic element, the Tathagata essence, then you say it is an ordinary bodhisattva, an ordinary bodhisattva who has yet to purify any of the seeds of the defilements and the suchness of that the defiled the suchness with defilements of that ordinary bodhisattva is in relation to the the Tathagata essence. Chiripa Tamas.
Chiripa Tamas 아니 토난 남도라 연제기 자주 선비지지 아니 감대와시 심지 취니데 온다 가서 주바타다 맞아주 군다 지르바 타바기 아니 감대와시 님보체.
And then the suchness of the bodhisattvas, the Dhamma, and that suchness of the Tathagata essence of the bodhisattvas who have attained on the path of seeing onwards, then have some partial purification of the seeds of those defilements.
다 신도 남다 대신라 자주 가나 신도 남다의 산재의 뒤에 말자요 말에 산재의 유지 감대와 시민이 무슨 말하지 티신이 이다 신도 남다의 티신이 송도와 티신이 숨라 고름 신도 아니 소소지유지 감대라 소수지위 섬제지 감당 아니 이와대라 장주선비지지 섬제지 감당 숨바대라 당고 시원하지 티시시바 쉐제도 티시시바 쉐제도
the completely purified state is only in the state of Buddhahood. So you cannot call you cannot refer that as being the basic element of the of the Buddhas. You have to say the completely purified state of the suchness of the Tathagatas. So you have the basic element at the stage of the being an ordinary being, and the basic element at the stage of being a bodhisattva.
인자 티신이 이와던 바에 신도 남다기 티신이 티신시바 샤장 가메라 좋아 티신시바샤 나 당고 시원하지 신도 남다기 티신이 티신시바래 다 당분이 오데 가서래 사부주사장 마다비 아니 때 가서래 티신이당 지바타다 마다 군다 지르바다비 티신이 오데 다 소제 자주 삼바샤요 말이스 아마 이 소제다 자주 삼바 임바샤도 미룬데 전담된 바 기울을 줘봐 현디루인 비시로 돈이 가사도 정가지 현디루래 대송이 말이.
So I'll just read from the in the teaching of the divisions of the suchness, it's not wrong to posit the totally purified suchness of the Tathagatas. Not wrong to posit the totally purified suchness as the Tathagata, but the first two kinds of suchness, in relation to the the ordinary sentient being or the Arya Bodhisattvas, then cannot be equated because positing because positing the ultimate truth as a living being belongs to the outsider system.
Oh yeah, 저도 시민들의 아세대 저도 세대 티신시바 시제도 세정바신도 와 티신시바 저도 선제 자주 선바다 티신시바 시제도 시와기 라래 가사 숨보디 가사 숨지 티신이 디비사베다야 마다비 간사기 티신이다. 리바타다 뭐나 마방진 군다밤이 티신이다. 신도 남다기 티 간사 남바타바기 간사 숨 요아르바 간지 리테지
And then
티신이 숨질에 때문에 간사 숨지 티신이 요아르바.
so the words spoken of as indicate that three kinds of suchness, the three kinds of suchness being this, the three kinds of suchness of the three kinds of person. You know, first being the suchness of a person where no seeds of the defilements have been purified, and this the suchness of a person in which the seeds of the imputed kind have been purified, and the suchness of the Shintonata, of the completely purified Tathagata.
이다 저도 시비 가사숨이 대신이 가사숨도 나비 시차대 가사숨 당고시와 나시 가사숨이 다시 제대 다시 동반이 제대 아니 폼비 초바다 유라 가사도 따장 푸비 초바다 유 야자서 강야 가사 그 차시 자도 미름도 시와차오
So this is similar to a person being imputed independence on an aggregate collection and continuum, yet no illustration of that person can be established within their aggregate collection, their continuum, or separate from them.
다디 시든 십디 세디 간당고 시에디 수담바 담바니 시에 숨바다디 수랑기 뭐 들로 치다에 대위체 수랑 랑시지 주와 누자면 매바 콘도 추그레 엔드라비 수랑신 바 콘도 추바 되게 마제 찌마야 와디 되게베 슈디 여기 간한 찌마야 와디 티슈 마야웨 안에 수수도비 시치다인 냠비체 랑시지 돈비 최시라 안에 수 타냐 잡아도 콘도 추그레스
So this was what was also covered yesterday. A form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. When looking to see how form actually exists, one comes to understand that there is not a trace of form existing by way of its own nature. Without losing the core of that understanding, one looks to understand how the base of the imputation of form exists, and one sees that the phenomenon not existing by its own nature is conventionalized as form.
출발된 대신도 내양 안에 라신지 돈비 가사 숨도 타냐 가사 숨지 타냐 돈비 라신지 돈비 가사 숨보 랑아랑기 타냐 돈비 시시라 안에 가사 숨도 타냐 샤와데 안에 콘도 치네 네 대콘도 출발할 때는 아니 대신이 되는 도바 주아래 랑신이 돈바도 콘도 치고야 돼 대신이 되는 도바 주아 stay in body.
By understanding that it is empty by nature, the basis on which you impute the label, the person. So understanding of that empty by nature is understanding the Tathagata. Here, as it says, similarly here, to understand how a phenomenon not existing by its own nature is conventionalized as the three kinds of a person. Is the basis for designating the person, is to perceive the meaning of the Tathagata essence.
다들인 나 가서 내가 권에 예와 세티잖아. 내가 권 예와 쳐봐라. 다디 오데라 두스두가다. 리지 스뭐 들어와라. 자와단 저와니 감치마다 제비 대신이 내가 숨타도 마지 rum지 민숨지 다와 다네 담바니 샤와 차오. 감치마다 제비 대신이 내가 숨타도 마지 rum지 가라서나 타바다 마다바다 신도난다게 민숨지 다네 담바 샤와 차오.
So the suchness with defilements has three states. can be independence upon its progression, then you have the defilement, the suchness which defilements in the state of being, impure, partially pure, and completely pure.
Oh, 아니 명당하고 강사소나 나시림이 명도 따와라 마도 감대다 강사대다 아니 되 천시 쳐봐 말이 있어.
So, these three types of these three persons are labeled on the basis of these states.
다 오늘 감 간들에서는
무슨 그냥 조치선한다.
나.
가서 내급순도.
내가 숨다도 아직 이름지 민숨지 단에 담바래.
So these three states are given the names of being purified, partially purified, but it is not 가리마리수마.
취인숨보다 강사 숨지 아니 텐시 쳐봐 말했어.
취인
숨이 요하라 타바다 마다바다 신이 남다기.
But but the suchness, the suchness of being defiled or the suchness of being partially defiled like that is not the illustration for the person.
나 진이 감도 간들에서나 다 내가 그에 와서 되가라. 뭐니라 소와이 어디 아니 디루키니 두와이 감네 내가 숨다도 민숨키니 담바인 세팅 말에 뭐니라 소와 디루키니 두와이 뭐니라 소와 야게다 이게 감조적이 치마 ang오단 규단 담바다 제부단 내당 주발라 소와 대다기 뒤위 와 어디기 뭐니라 소와 디루키 두와이 대다기 땡라 파비 대다기 두와면 대다기 땡라 파비 아니 감되니 너도나 내가도 민숨지단에 담바 시와 차오.
So the basic element is presented in these three states. The basic element that is contained with is verse 47 within the 6 topics of the entity and so forth: cause, effect, function, possession, manifestation, and states, is indicated with those 3 names in terms of these 3 states, whereas in its entry there is not the slightest difference. So, stating these are the factors by which one purifies the basic element.
다텔라 대화텔라 마치디가라 천대자야텔라 내가 또 예비신이 디달 민칸지아 론데 좀된데지 껴와 매바당 가바 매발라 사미 남단지 권에 도마께와 땜비 권에 다 그래 껴와 매바당 가바 매바시가라 감 라신지 껴와 매바다 감 라신지 심 라신지 껴와 매바다 심 라신지 가바 매발라 소가 사미신이 남바 제스와레 어 대기 야와르 땜비 사바메비 감티신이 땜바 오니 제차오 다 된다위 삼탄이 되라 내가 당보라 semjenji kamshi chik ten yang tasem kolangi nangse kandi wari sana timi sabi chuse jang mata pi negab ji chabadu chawi sosu jo bashik tang sosu jiyu ji kamchi tata 양조 때 쌀 당하려 만들어 그래서
그때 망차스 그게 그때
다들 내가 담보라 semjenji kam시 질 때양 semjenji kam시 때양에서 담보도 가르래서 사배 중스 팀 사중은도 다진 담보지와 마다 받고 고시고래 재미사배 중세장 마다비 내가비 쳐봐도 제외 소소교 바시비 주직한데와 시비니 뭐지.
So in explaining the Tathagata Garbha, then you have the you have the Tathagata Garbha at the the suchness of an ordinary sentient being, at the face of which one does not have the slightest purification of any defilements.
Tinita, Rimba Niwa Tela, Mataba, Taba, Se Tela, Ani Kasori, Mataba Taba, Segala, Tikunda Chak, Gashi Tajang, Ani Hanjiki Mataba, said Chansen Papa, Chishan Shabare, Chishajang, Chansen Papa Yimba Sheji, Chanshu Sembi Papa Yimba Sheji Dola Sala, Chishan Semba Sabati. 这作为王的乔瓦的，长生爸爸了，下这作为王的乔瓦的，马大巴了，滚大吉他了，你看见马大巴下来的，做长生爸爸了，作为王的见他乔瓦的，是吧？
And the at the second phase, purification of the unpurified refers to the purification of the imputed forms of grasping true existence, primarily in relation to the Arya Bodhisattvas.
Mataba Taba de Nyaran la Yuares. Sami Bena Yandula, either touching Chansam la Jadugala, Chansam Gitona Namro Lamji Kaso, Dinzu Kunda, Punju Kunda Pangla, Tangi Madam Mataba in town, and it Mataba Tana Mataba Sharaba, what then I see Nyaran Paba. Nyare nyande tonlam namdo lamba tinjo kundaji tata sanjeji mataba yinta tala mataba nyande tutune dencho gores
so
nyande soso jium teta nyande teta soso jium miru chiros
so the purification of the impure, although it is referenced primarily in relation to the Arya Bodhisattvas, but one can also include within that the Shravaka and the Pratyeka Arhants, because they also, when they attain the path of seeing, a liberated path, then they also have that kind of partial form of purification. And moreover, then you cannot sort of consider Shravaka and Pratyeka Arhants as you cannot consider them to be ordinary beings.
Excuse me, that's Aryas.
Aryas.
So the Joe Mirun says, Mirun the Carrera, Kunyandu Tonam Totara, Yandu Tonam Totukala, Yandu Lamde Totare, Lamde Tobi Casa della, Ani Papa made sausage Mari, sausage or Lamde Matobasco, Lama Toba Soso, Gio Dedo, Zergacaso, Lamde Mazabag, Matobe Casala, sausage or Siguari.
Because they have attained the true path, having attained the path of seeing, then they have attained the true path, and so they are no longer ordinary beings, and therefore they have to be Arya beings, as stated within the treasury of knowledge, that without the attainment of the true path, then there is no being classified as an Arya being.
Oh, Miruichidan, Jubiravis Gaso Tan Dango Chiro, Jubiravis Gaso Tan Dango, Jubinaris Gasoyan, Ani Tamada Della, Chanju Samanashi, Ani Yandoya Tendishaya, Dango Grace.
So when presenting the manifestations with regards to purified, partial purification, then within that you have further explanations with regards to the Aryas, the Bodhisattva Aryas, and the Aryas of the Shravakas and the Pratyakas.
That Tandandi Nago Giva Chandi, Ani Lunga Gosu Kande Temba Dela, that Lunda Chadu Zamba, 좀 된데 이제로 체면 남바 다바나 추구신 예비 처마다 제비 티신이 데 테니 니몽 시위 처마다 제시기 처마데 니몽라체 라 내주 산제 그치 아니 추구데 체면 남바 다바나 추구시 아니 추구시 저그 아래 예바기 얘나 다 처마다 제비 티신이데 가르래서나 니몽다 제비 티신이 라 니몽다 제비 티신이 되라양 아니 니몽고 사베 찌를 좀 마다바기 아니 소소 교육이지 마다바 직탕 세야잖아 내니 지만 그 코위 소소 교육이라냐 코위 진지 체라 세야데 니사사 아니 니몽고 사베 찌를 좀 마다비 아니 소소 교육이 직체 그래와
So then the part of the commentary with regards to application to the scripture, this says, as is written, the conqueror addressed Shariputra and explained that the suchness with defilement, which when purified is explained as the Dharmakaya, as the Dharmakaya is covered by the countless sheets of affliction, and the suchness with defilements, is the suchness in which one has not abandoned any of the seeds of the afflictions, and referring to the state of being an ordinary sentient being. And so, and as such, it is these afflictions and this action karma that brings forth the samsaric existence. It is carried by the stream of samsara because it dwells in the continuum of ordinary sentient beings who circle in samsara by the force of karma and afflictions.
소식교육이 대신되라 대신이 삼제지 감시 양샤를 부추고 텐드니 코위 경기 동안에 껴를 교화시와는 장주신 비켜봐 제바고 장주선바 세제도 세가나 명몽바 찌릭 타라 군다지 타라 사변지 마다 가 현지지 마다 받대라 장주선바시 안에 장주선바게 감 감디시더라
So this is the suchness in relation to an ordinary sentient being. This is the suchness in relation to an ordinary sentient being. Then in the next part where it says the Shariputra, the very Dharmakaya develops an aversion to the stream of samsara and continues up to it. So this part of the commentary then refers to the suchness of the Bodhisattva. In the case of the Arya Bodhisattvas who have purified the seeds of the imputed and have yet to purify the innate forms of the grasping at true existence. So we cannot say that the Dharmakaya circles in samsara. Therefore, when the suchness is purified of defilement, it becomes Dharmakaya, and that which is characterized by the above characters, such as aversion, is what is referred to here by imputation bodhisattva, the Arya Bodhisattvas.
Oh yeah, that then chugu kwaru kwaso mirunwa yinjang chime tabi chugu samjang juji ani sem chime tabi je chugu yuwa sem지 천이 정말 답이체 죽은 주와 대신이 되니 아니 차지 대답이 차봐도 차봐라 아니 추구대라 자주 생각이 민 따와래
So when the suchness is purified of the defilement, it is labeled as the Dhammakaya at the face of the Bodhisattva.
다 되게 내가 그 여와데 마 친찬이 다대도 대도수와 림바 신도 니몽원주 방바탕 대우도 된 방바탕 시즈 방바탕 윤전 대니지 치신나 다바세와 랑도 편조지 방바 와 대우도 된 방바 가제 림바 니몽원주 방바 대우도 된 방바 아니 시를 방바 균전 전이 친나 다바시 란데 핀조지 방바당 현대 핀조니 셈전시에 담바레 스타데 트선도라.
So this is the divisions made at the different phases or at the different states of not being purified or having purified the gross manifestations and having purified the obscuration to omniscience.
일단 이몽은 주 방바 인증은 주 방바 안 보는 보라 사람 가서 사람 그냥 가라 요한 바체 그봐 너도 된 방바데 아니 자주 선바당 자선 파바당 년들라 예나 년들 하면도 냥알래 하면 냥되게 내가라 너도 된 방바데.
So in the case of those who have abandoned the gross forms of the manifest forms of the grasping at true existence, then those are the individuals who are on the path of preparation. And for those who have abandoned, true suffering, the result true suffering, then that is in the case of the Arya Bodhisattvas and the Shravakas and the Arhants who have attained the nirvana without remainder.
Who have 파베 치단 가와다 나유 동아 짠나방 레다니모 왕게지 텔라테미 시데메에시 두대연나 레니 왕게 중 풍부 요거래 레니 왕게 중 풍부 메바 인상 찬선 파베 두대 방방.
So Arya Bodhisattvas have abandoned true suffering, and the Arhants, you have to. There is a little bit some sort of variation, but generally you can say that the Arhants have also abandoned true suffering. If Bodhisattvas have not abandoned true suffering, then it would mean that they have aggregates brought on by karma and delusions. And the abandonment of the obscuration to knowledge is only on the grounds of Buddhahood. So the perfect abandonment and the perfect realizations in the continuum of a Buddha is the perfect accomplishment for the self.
dimni bambi ani sugude ani kasora jande pinzola rande topa pinzo.
And then the Rupakaya, which is the result of the abandonment of the two obscurations, is the perfect benefit. For the others. So knowing completely and knowing exactly is the perfect benefit for the self.
Oh yeah, that really never fishing. There never we juba said it true, but
so this.
When you gonna tell them what never tell them to Yawa said it true. That
in nature, there is this kind of differentiation in the states or in the phases. But in nature, in suchness, then there is no differentiation.
참조 땜바 제바 샤바 손유변은 티시 셰바 셰데 랑싱지 동바니 다 섬랑싱지 동바니 내가 숨도 제스 쪽그래 마다바당 초직 타람 마다바당 때나 타바송게 내가 숨도 제스 쪽그래 랑싱지 동바니 내가 숨도 제스 다도 올라마 등구로 내가 숨도 제스 쪽에 내가 타대바도 인디 심코랑 그거 랑싱지 동비 뭐텔라 민대에 쳐봐매봐.
And so presenting the omnipresent feature, which is to say that the mind being empty of nature, is present throughout the three states. Is present at the phase of being unpurified, partially purified, and completely purified. The mind, by nature, being empty, is omnipresent. Is present. That suchness, that emptiness, is present throughout.
인간데 랑교 모유권에 민다고 소소 타다바 이나 아니 내가 숨도 쳐봐매봐 제수 쪽가 가유체로 뭐 타다바 인자 내가 숨도 아니 쳐봐매봐 제수 쪽가 연구 말이
So if they were if along these three phases if they were different in nature, then you would not have that the omnipresent feature throughout these three phases, three states.
다 근도 간절 조거래서나其他方面当年间哪个跟都接受的심지어라신 tremeyi 디신 근도 좋아니 다 자와 대도와.
So just as space which has a non-conceptual and unobstructed nature pervades undifferentiably all physical things, so the nature of the mind, the undefiled basic element, pervades all states of person. Verse 48.
대간들에서나 단대 동바라 지단대 동바 타다라 차버려 쳐오냐 뭐 동바 매비 아니젠 난가 토비를 자당 차와 난가라 토비를 자당 차와 난가 토비를 자당 차와 근도 제수 송와 따르스 난가래 아니 가서래 내 동바 타다라 차버려 쳐오냐 왜 나바 동바 요 말에데 난가 동바데 내 동바 타다라 안에 차우지 가서 progress 난가를 토비를 자단 차와 근도 제수 송와 따르스
Just like space which does not have any kind of conceptual thought to pervade to pervade all existence. So, like that, just as space pervades every absence of obstructing tangibility and is of a non-conceptual nature that never thinks I pervade the emptiness within the world, likewise, emptiness by nature. So the nature in the same way, the mind, the empty nature of the mind. In the same way, the empty nature of the mind, which is referred to as the undefiled sphere, the empty nature of the mind, pervades all of these three states. Impure, partially pure, completely pure, like that.
지다 도매 다니제 나가 군도 대소당 심지랑시 tremeyi 디신 군도 좋아다 아니 군도 좋아니 세도 어디다 심랑시 지 동바 대니 디신 최전 군도 좋아 시와 차오시 심랑시 지 동바의 최전 탐자를 줘 심랑시 지 동바 최전 군 최전 탐자를 좋아다 심지 동지 최전 군들 좋아니 우리 가가래 양디
As the defilement free sphere indicates that defilements are not where it says, the defilement-free sphere that is the nature of the mind pervades all phenomena. Pervades all phenomena. The empty simranshing tongbata.
Simranshing tongbate. Any change in terms of good draw.
The empty nature of the mind pervades all phenomena.
Sim thinking Tony de Chajan good draw reversina, Tetrogamare.
So the emptiness on the basis of the mind, that does not pervade all phenomena. The empty nature of the mind pervades all phenomena, but the emptiness on the basis of the mind does not pervade all phenomena.
Simranshing tongbate. Chirogo ngowi ting de ngo jesu rwa khansa da chirogo ngowi de sem rangchin tong ba de jesu che sem gi ting gi tongni de chirogo ngowi de jesu go amare
the empty nature of the mind pervades all phenomena, but the emptiness on the basis of mind does not pervade all phenomena.
So shera ga su de shera do ma do na de ma chen ni khala chu sa na chi 동시 체제 뒤제의 매나 아니 동바티 동바 용식의 말에
like how it is stated in root wisdom with regards to compounded and uncompounded, without the basis of the imputation of the particular compounded phenomena or the uncompounded phenomena, then you cannot establish the emptiness of that particular entity.
You cannot
say that the external phenomena is the emptiness on the basis of the mind. The external phenomena, if we ask, if the external functioning entities, if we ask if that is empty by nature, if it is the empty nature of the mind, then it is. Simranching tomba revesna.
Chiro yungo de simranching tomba re maresna.
Simranching tomba.
And you can't remember Ranching tomba yinsiga, matoma yinsiga.
So if we ask if the external phenomena, if it is an empty nature of the mind, if we ask that, what would you say?
Rashi tomba mayina, Rashi chuba yingorwa. Rashi tomba da Rashi matuba yingo de kanruchi yingore, but the term madavare. That Chirujungo de Semrashi chuba marawa. That in the Semrashi tomba days. Semrashi tomba de Chirogo between the Yades.
So the empty nature of I think the empty nature, I think it's saying the mind that which can confuse it. So the empty nature, you would have to say that all external phenomena are empty in nature, because if
But how do you say that? Because it is sin.
Yeah, because earlier we were talking about the empty nature of the mind pervading all phenomena. So the Tibetan term uses the mind. So the answer is that basically you have to say that external phenomena is the empty nature of the mind. The suchness of the mind. Is dependent upon the mind. Without the mind, you would not have in the Dharmadhatu or the suchness of that mind. If it The suchness of the mind is dependent upon the mind, but if it is the suchness of mind, it does not have to be the mind. If it is the suchness of the mind, it does not have to be dependent on the mind. The empty nature of the mind is the suchness of the mind, but it is not dependent upon the mind. It's not dependent on the mind. If it is a dependent feature, then it has to have that dependence upon each other for its existence.
Oh yeah, this is good. That the Rashi don't about the church of Kundul drawing you to share a chow or say, Rashi don't about Tony Rava, some Rashi don't about Tony Rava. Tony is a church of Kundul draws on her.
Some Rashi don't about the mind, which is empty by nature, is emptiness. And so therefore it pervades all phenomena.
Chuma may be in it, Chuma Semji Rashina, Mashu be turning ye, Chuma may be some ing said that Chuma Semji Rashina Mashu Bares. Chuma Semji Rashina Shuna Ani Semji Chimata Tarum Mea in Bari. Semji Chimata Tawachi Tameva.
So, and then in the commentary where it says defilement-free sphere, and the undefiled sphere indicates that the defilements are not of the nature of the mind and does not refer solely, indicates that defilements are not of the nature of the mind. If the defilements were of the nature of the mind, then it would not be removable from the mind.
Oh, in that, maybe in said Chuma Semji Rashina Mashu Terre Mato Lubuji Terabai Bashimare, Lubuji Tramada Bashila Jaya Mare.
So when we talk about the undefiled sphere, then it is to be understood that what it means is that defilements do not exist in the nature of the mind. It does not mean that the mind is undefiled of the adventitious defilements.
Some Joe Temba Java Shaba, Sega, Tambude, some Java Temba Java Shaba, Sugana, Dotemba Timbata, Dotemba Java Shaba, Tadi Toby Rizanaba Chasam Tini, Dumachinaga Yimbata, Yinjis. Anita de Carresana Ludila, Anicasure. Tombani, Gacha Naba Chazamji Mega la Shakure. Dubarao, Naba Chaju Mela. Toby Rijan Naba Chazamji, Dumachinaga Yinji, Dubarao, Naba Chaju Mela.
So the unformed space is the mere negation of the obstructing tangibility. It does not take the form of a self-sustaining affirmation.
Near Tadaba Gula Nanga Tobi Namba Chazamji Kasore Tawayina near Tomba Sumla. Anek Nanga Chapizamba Chapju Naga taking over the Yawa Meba, Nejukana Tadaba Chabanashi.
Although it pervades different receptacles, it is only given different names on the basis of these individual phenomena. So the space which pervades it, there is no difference in that. There's no differentiation in that. The differentiation is made. The divisions are made of the basis that it pervades. But in that which pervades the pervading space, in that there is no difference.
Rashi Chua Namba Chazam 这怎么就让心那么大是呢？大让心就断话，什么让心就断话的，是吧？那么大天人，确实他们家的就是双阳，双南阳，断不得了。俺那个告诉的，我是心多，然后我有关呢，那么明知道吃就完吧的，可能大家盯住干什么就没干的吃也蛮多，天天先吃也没吧，我是心多，那么些吃就没呗。让心大家这怎么就没干天人，让心什么让心断不得，俺那个工作就是这原因呢，那个他的怕怎么的，是个玩的。
Then it says that similarly, the entity of pure suchness, which is the mere negation of existence by nature, pervades everything. Yet it pervades everything. So the emptiness which pervades all phenomena, is the same. That same with regards to being a mere negation of existence by way of its own nature, and the differentiation is made on the basis, the states that it pervades.
是这样的，他这多点过呢，些年，他说把结完写不得了。对，这里的他说的，结果下不得了。这些才年我当原来他都吃不的，书记那把面包他旁边说了那个行，糟了。
The verse 49, the pure basic element pervades the general character of all phenomena. Thus, it pervades all states of the faulty common beings, bodhisattvas with good qualities, and Buddhas of final qualities, just as space is omnipresent in low, middling, and supreme forms such as earth, copper, and gold vessels.
对吧？多低呢？他不多参加，多点吧，教外些吧，去他不参加去，今年完多点吧，多进去的。他得看的是我的什么？早晚来。你看是知道，提起成年话当，原来他都吃话的是抗击成年，提醒你，啊你苗话没有把它加话，说是就为那个来是吧？抗击说是就为是抗击一成年提醒你的，苗话没有把它加为那个就有话的，是这个说是就的。帮着七十分几六把帮比原来那加话当是提起成年话当。原来的教化鸡汤，原来他都把归了教化的是一个了，原来他都帮着他们家保卫，原来他都把归了教化的是松，特别的书记那把上当，实际那是把新都满把当旁边了，当错了那个的，那上海书了人把新都教化，滚都做完那些人是么的，
So you have the basic element at the stage of being an ordinary being, when you have when you have all of the shortcomings, and then you have the basic element. Which is at the stage of a bodhisattva in having some of the good qualities, and at the stage of a Buddhahood, when one has all of these final qualities, just as the space is omnipresent in low, middling, and supreme forms such as earth, copper, and gold vessels.
这些他今年这顿在没多的，他对龙大家话的嘛，这顿他大概得做过了，现在他对龙大家就讲了，龙个告诉他的什么人生呢？下日不提前了，身边就看闲了，吃过样闲嘛，应得 semjenji kam rangshiji tongpyo ngo tele shen chuguya rangshiji tongpyo ngo shen mare.
Then the part of the commentary with the application to scripture, therefore the basic element of sentient beings is not one thing and the Dharmakaya another, because the basic element of sentient beings, when its suchness with defilement is purified of all defilement, is the Dharmakaya.
Tendrawi semjenji kam chimada jevi tishin nide rinpa shindu chima tada ki taba tizana ani chogure.
So the basic element of the sentient beings, when it is completely, when it is purified of the defilements, when the suchness is gradually purified of all of these defilements, then it is the Dharmakaya.
Nida chogu rangshi ji tongpa, ane chogu di chima da jevi tishin nide, semjenji chima da jevi tishin nide, chima tada ki ane taba, chima tada ki taba di ane chogu res.
So the suchness of the sentient beings with defilements, when it is completely purified of all of those defilements, then it is the Dharmakaya.
Chogu rangshi ji tongpa ni chima da jevi tsena, ane semjenji kam. Chima da chavi tsena, ane sa kaase tishishiba, tishishibi, irwa rangshi namda.
So this Dharmakaya, which is empty by nature, when it is with defilements, then it is the basic element of the sentient beings. But when this Dharmakaya, empty of nature, empty by nature, is completely, when it is totally free of defilements, then it is the Dharmakaya itself.
Chogu rangshi ji tongpa de chima da jevi kangla, semjenji kamdang, chima da chavi chena, ane rangshi namda ki ngo nigo, chogu shaya de, jobari mado, ngo la yewa mare, sige tadeba zamre. Namba mindrawa ni chejuwa, niga gacha diru gazamji mega namba de chaya mando, namba mindra chejuwa mare.
So the Dharmakaya, which is empty by nature, when it is with defilements, is the basic element of the sentient beings. The Dharmakaya, empty by nature and without defilements, is Ranshinamda, is the naturally pure state. Is the Buddha, is the Swabhavakaya state. So with respect to both of these two phases, then in being empty, in being a state of a mere negation, then it is the same.
Oh yeah. Pamacholan, Agash Nyola Butan, and then I see you dancing, Sichem. Otimarita Semjenji come to Chugu, Namramba Cheba, Ribatan Gaives. Chugu Namran Cheba, Ribata Ga said, Semjenji come to Chugu, you the turn them, turn you to the Gavares.
To say that the basic element of the sentient beings and the Dharmakaya is the same thing is a mistake. It's a contradiction.
No, turn them down, Maris. Semjenji comes and Semjenji come to our ship and the Semjenji Chichegi, Tomata Jevi Semji Tony Chen. Shugu Sanjaki turn Sanjaki Sarashago in that turn them down, Sayamarawa.
The basic element of the sentient beings and the Dharmakaya cannot be the same thing, because the basic element of the sentient beings is the suchness with defilements, and the Dharmakaya is only in the state of Buddhahood.
Ore Ribadan Gawa in Rede Gawe Nangala Charodang Chago Pui Lamla Mindrawa Chachimeba Nashi Charo Pus Nangala Charoki Pusaki Nangadang Ane Chago Pusaki Lam Mindrawa Mindrawa Sosa Chachimeba Tang Ne Tadebi Nangala Namba Mindrawa Chachu Mejang Jeva Tadeba Yoba Zam Yoba Tar Rashinji to be Tishini Dang Tishini Timada Jevi Semjaji Kam Shawatang Timatada Sevi Chugu Shawatana Ranking Ola What that Tando Tepenashi Chaning Womi Drevesheva Chachu Amari Mingda Mato Ranking Oyukon and Naba Midrawa Chami Vite.
And with regards to with regards to the basic element of the sentient beings and the Dharmakaya, one cannot say that this means the same thing because that would defy logic. But in nature, in the nature of being, in nature, it is the in its nature of being. In its suchness, it is the same. Just like the example of therefore, just as the paths of a crow and a vulture flying through the sky do not appear in different forms, and just as the space itself in different receptacles does not appear in different forms, but is only differentiated by words. In the same way, emptiness by nature is known as the basic element of sentient beings when it is suchness with defilement, and as Dharmakaya when it is the extinction of all defilements.
Oh, Rajidomi, Tumaraji, Semjaji Kamshawata, Tumatada Sebi, Chugushawa, Tam, Mado, Mingona Tada Java, Mado, Ngode, Namba Mindra Chamaba, said that day, Tayanjaki to that day. Oh, yeah, that Namshana Baji Nani, Nagatata to your Mabaji. Wow, and it knew what it oh, Rashim Nagata, it had the Yawatang. Rashin Jini never going to draw, said that day Rashin Jini never going to draw.
So, to understand that these two suchness, the empty nature of the basic element of sentient beings, when it's suchness with defilement, and the Dharmakaya, which is the extinction of defilements, that this in emptiness is one in nature, in one nature.
Going to draw a second. Sit down. Rashinji Tongbatang. And it only knew the Chajatamjara going to draw a check.
Omnipresent.
Rashin don't be Tony down. Anekasore. Rashin don't be Tony, the Chajatamjara going to draw a check.
The omnipresent, or like pervading all phenomena, is in reference to the emptiness, being empty of nature, omnipresent, pervading all phenomena in emptiness.
That has been some Rashin don't be Tony, the Chajatamjara going to Madro. Some Rashin you don't buy Chajakun to the draw. Some Rashin don't be Tony, the Chajatamjara going to Madro. Rashin you don't buy that Rashin don't be Tony, you were the Chide, and Charatamjara going to draw.
As explained earlier, the mind, by nature being empty nature of the mind, is pervades all phenomena, but the emptiness of the mind, it does not pervade all phenomena.
Oh yeah, they did that. I say, you should. That was a dash. That the walla, that the rest of cancer. Thought the Miju and the Yemit, I need her there. I'm saying about you and I thought Miju said it.
Then we have the last. We'll stop here with the last 2 points.
When you're going to send me to Juba, said
explaining the unchanging nature, explaining the unchanging nature, the unchanging, and then the indivisibility.
대세 자신이야. 배지 조심해도 당하리라 신인데 제발 산제 신도 밑에 보아 조금남다 신라 제바쇼 이동 우르라나 달라가니 아야미 오야